Good day and welcome to this Huntington Learning Center webinar inside the 2025 college admissions process. What's changed and what matters most? I'm Michael Hackmer, I'll be your moderator for today's event. And on behalf of Huntington and all of our speakers, I want to say thank you so much for giving us a few moments of your time. We know there's a lot going on, so we certainly appreciate you making time to join us today. So before I go into the introduction of our speakers, I want to talk a little bit about Huntington Learning Center. As some of you may know, Huntington is a proven tutoring and test prep organization, been around for well over 40 years. And there are three things that I think really differentiate Huntington from other tutoring and test prep centers, or just going out and hiring maybe a local college kid who took the SAT or something like that to help your child out. And here's what they are. First of all, everybody that we have interfacing with your child is a highly trained and certified tutor. In fact, the Huntington Training Department has won awards over the years for just all of their outstanding work. It's really important to make sure that everybody who interfaces with your child has the necessary experience and training to do their job well. The second is our accreditation. We're accredited with Middle States, and the reason why that's important to us as an organization is that as your child goes through their academic journey, doing degrees or certificate programs, many of those higher education institutions will be accredited by Middle States Association of Colleges and Schools. And third, and I think this is probably the most important, is everything we do is very highly individualized, very personalized. We want to get students in, do an assessment in the case of the SAT or the ACT, take a practice test, because while lots of kids have very similar challenges, right, in either math or English or test taking or study skills, at the end of the day, your child's strengths and weaknesses are going to be unique to them. And we want to make sure that the program and things that we do are really personalized to their strengths and weaknesses to help them out in the most efficient way. And really, the results do speak for themselves, right? On the SAT, you can see on your screen, on an average, we're looking at a 229-point increase. On the ACT, it's 5.4 points. After about a few months, you're looking at an increase in grade levels if you're focused on that kind of curriculum. And of course, with Huntington, we have lots of flexible options available for in-center and online, and we've achieved a lot of great success. So, and if you have questions, of course, reach out to us, but I think that that's a really great set of differentiators that separates Huntington from others. So I do want to introduce our speakers. The first is Kara Murray. She holds a bachelor's degree in economics from Gettysburg College, and she brings a background in the finance industry. But I think what's great is that she currently owns and operates several Huntington centers in New Jersey, where she's helped thousands of students improve their SAT and ACT scores. In fact, one parent said that Kara went above and beyond, frequently calling to check on how our daughter was feeling, whether she needed any additional support during her preparation. And really, I think that this goes to show a lot of the Huntington centers, in particular with Kara, is that it's that personalized touch, right? We really want to make sure that your student learner is successful. Lori Strennan, she holds a bachelor's degree in elementary education, master's in education. She's a certified reading specialist. And she began teaching at Huntington back in 1990. She became an owner in 1994. And she's been involved in education for well over 30 years. One parent said about Lori that Lori and the teachers at Huntington Learning Center did a fantastic job for my son for his SAT, raised his score by 100 points. And one of my son's goals was to get a perfect math score, which he was able to achieve. So, again, that common theme that you'll hear with a lot of us at Huntington is that personalized touch and that focus on really trying to make sure that we help your children achieve their academic goals. And then, of course, Mariel Carroll, who's presented for webinars with us in the past. She's a senior training manager. She's been with Huntington for a long time and worked with not just all of the people who interface with your children in the training department, but also with parents and children and thousands of kids over the course of her career, really helping them build the skills and confidence they need to be successful. So we're really excited to have this really great panel with us today. And now, without further ado, I'm going to turn things over to Mariel Carroll, who's going to guide our discussion until we get to the Q&A. Mariel?
Thank you, Michael. So let's start off first by looking at the latest trends in college admissions, and that's where our webinar is going to start today. We'll also then go into discussing how to navigate through the college admissions process and walk through how Huntington can help. We'll wrap up with a question and answer session at the end of the webinar. And like Michael said, if you have questions, put them into the chat box. We'll make sure to review all of the questions here at the end of the call. But first, let's start off with an overview of the current state of college admissions. We'll take a closer look here at the evolving role of standardized testings in college admissions. After several years of test optional policies, we're now seeing a clear trend. More colleges are reinstating test score requirements. According to college data, the number of students submitting SAT and ACT scores rose by 11% between the 2023-2024 and 2024-2025 admission cycles, reflecting both institutional policy shifts and increased student engagement with testing. We're also seeing major changes in the tests themselves. The digital SAT was fully implemented as of March 2024, and over 1.97 million students in the class of 2024 took that exam. Now, it's shorter, it's adaptive, it delivers faster results, and it ultimately improves the testing experience while also maintaining rigor. On the ACT side, we're in the middle of a change now with the enhanced version set to be fully implemented by the spring of 2026, with both national paper and digital testing transitioning to the new format within the September 2025 test date. This enhanced format will feature fewer questions, a shorter overall length, and the science section becoming optional, which gives students more flexibility. Additionally, advanced placement exams play a larger role in the admissions process, not just for credit, but increasingly for course placement as well. All of this reflects a broader shift. While test optional policies do still exist, standardized assessments continue to hold value, not just for admissions officers, but for students looking to stand out and demonstrate college readiness. In 2024, Yale University conducted an internal analysis of its admissions data, finding that SAT and ACT scores, when considered alongside other application materials, enhance the admission committee's ability to assess a student's academic readiness. While over 2,000 colleges still remain test optional, several schools have reinstated the SAT and ACT requirements, citing the predictive value of test scores for college success. As we look at the college application data for this current school year, the 2024 to 2025 admission cycle, there are a few key trends shaping how students should approach the process moving forward. First, we've seen a significant increase in both the number of applications and the total applications submitted. According to the Common App, there's been a 4% rise in unique applicants and a 6% increase in total applications. This means that students are applying to more schools than ever, intensifying competition at many institutions. Another major trend on the rise is early applications. Early action applications are up 17%, and early decision applications have increased by 4% compared to last year. Students are taking advantage of early rounds to maximize their chances, especially at selective colleges that fill a large portion of their classes early. Early action allows students to apply early and receive a decision ahead of regular deadlines without a binding commitment. In contrast, early decision is binding. Students accepted through early decision must attend that school and withdraw all other applications. Choosing between these two depends on a student's readiness, their preference, and their ability to commit. Now, given this increasingly competitive landscape, it's more important than ever to build a strategic and balanced college list. Students should be applying to a mix of reach schools where their academic profile may fall below the school's average. The admission here is less likely, but still possible with a strong application. They should be applying to match schools or target schools, where their qualifications closely align with the college's typical admitted student. There is a reasonably to good chance of being admitted to these schools. They should also be applying to safety schools. This is where the academic record exceeds the average and the admissions is highly likely. These are schools where a student is likely to be admitted and would be happy to attend. However, it is important to note that safety schools are no longer the guarantee that they once were pre-COVID. With more students applying to more schools and admissions becoming less predictable, even at less selective institutions, no school should be considered a true sure thing. By applying strategically and diversifying their school list, students can improve their chances of acceptance and find the right academic and the right personal fit. And here's a helpful hint for you parents. When helping build your child's list, be sure to prioritize academic fit, campus culture, location, cost, and support services. We have to keep in mind here as well that artificial intelligence is playing an increasingly prominent role in all areas of life, so the college admissions process is no exception. AI is changing the way applications are reviewed and evaluated. More and more institutions are using AI tools for initial application screenings. These systems scan for standout candidates, they flag inconsistencies, and they help admissions teams efficiently manage large application pools. In a process where many applications start with an algorithm, it becomes even more critical to make your materials stand out, especially with strong academic markers like test scores, with rigorous coursework and clear, compelling essays. Colleges are also applying predictive analytics to anticipate enrollment behaviors and assess applicant fit using data models. These insights influence not only admissions decisions, but also how merit aid and scholarships are awarded. So anything that quantifiably strengthens the application, like SAT or ACT scores, this can help your students stand apart. At the same time, this shift towards automation raises important ethical questions about fairness, transparency, and the need for human oversight. While AI adds efficiency, human judgment remains key in final decisions. That's why your child's application should reflect not just numbers, but your authentic story, strength, and goals. In this evolving landscape, students who take a strategic, well-rounded approach, including test scores when possible, will be best positioned to rise above the noise and get noticed with their applications. So now that we have a better understanding of the current landscape, let's discuss the steps that can be taken to better navigate the admissions process. While many colleges today are test optional, it's still incredibly important for students to take the SAT or ACT and to submit their scores if they perform well. Why do you ask? Because strong scores can give students a competitive edge, even when they aren't required. At selective colleges and competitive programs, test scores help applications stand out and provide another way to demonstrate academic ability, especially in a large pool of similarly qualified applicants. Beyond just admissions, SAT and ACT scores are often still required for merit-based scholarships. They're required for honors program admission and even some automatic financial aid. Not submitting scores could mean missing out on thousands of dollars in potential funding. In many cases, certain majors like engineering, nursing, or business, those majors expect or strongly prefer also receiving test scores, even at test optional schools. Having scores ready to give students more flexibility when applying across different schools and programs. It's also important to understand that colleges can change their testing policies at any time. A school that's test optional today may reinstate a testing requirement during the next cycle or vice versa. Taking the SAT or ACT ensures students are prepared for any scenario, no matter how policies evolve. And finally, submitting a strong score can help balance other parts of student application, particularly if their GPA is low or their extracurriculars may be limited. It's a way to reinforce college readiness in a clear, measurable way. So even in a test optional world, taking the SAT or ACT and being ready to submit scores remains a smart, strategic move for all college-bound students. In addition to the growing number of college applications being submitted, we're also starting to see a steady increase in the number of students choosing to include the test scores with their applications. According to recent data from the Common App, this chart shows the year-by-year trend in test score submissions since 2020. The teal line on your screen represents the number of students applying without test scores, and the pink line represents those applying with test scores. What's clear is that every year since 2020, more students are choosing to submit their SAT or ACT scores. And for the 2024-2025 admission cycle, that number has grown again. In fact, we've now reached nearly a 50-50 split between students who submit scores and those who don't. But notice the trajectory. The number of students, including test scores, continues to rise, while the number applying without them has dipped this year. So while many colleges remain formally test optional, in practice, it's often test expected, especially at selective schools. Submitting scores is becoming a key way to stay competitive and stand out in an increasingly crowd of admissions within this landscape. While both the SAT and ACT is accepted by all US colleges, it's important to understand the key differences so your child chooses the exam that best aligns with their strengths and their college goals. First, consider your child's academic strengths. The SAT places more emphasis on reading comprehension and evidence-based writing, so it may be a better fit for students who excel in verbal reasoning and analysis. On the other hand, the ACT includes a science section and tends to appeal more to students who are strong in STEM reasoning and considering science-based college majors. Next, think about how your child handles time pressure. The SAT allows a bit more time per question, which can benefit students who work methodically or need time to process information. The ACT is a faster paced test with more questions in less time, so it may suit students who work quickly and confidently under pressure. It's also worth checking if there are schools that your child is targeting that lean towards one test. While nearly all colleges accept both tests equally, regional trends still exist. For example, the ACT is more common in the Midwest and the South, while the SAT tends to be more popular in the East and the West. Finally, consider your child's comfort with digital testing. The SAT is now fully digital, which may be a good fit for students who are comfortable in navigating online formats. The ACT still offers, though, both paper and digital versions, giving families a choice depending on testing preferences and availability. Encourage your child to take a practice test for each of these to see what they feel more confident with. Then focus on preparing for the test that best aligns with their strengths. Now, this chart that we have up on the screen here, it highlights the key differences between the SAT and the current ACT, as well as the upcoming enhanced ACT, to help you better understand which test may be the best fit for your child. First, starting with test duration, the SAT is the shortest, clocking in at just over 2 hours and 14 minutes. The ACT is longer, 2 hours and 55 minutes with an optional 40-minute essay. The enhanced ACT, which will be fully rolled out in the spring of 2026, will be a bit shorter here, 2 hours and 5 minutes, plus an optional essay section or an optional science section. When it comes to the essay, the SAT no longer includes one, while the ACT and enhanced ACT both offer an optional component, though fewer colleges are requiring it. Now, the scoring systems also differ with these tests. The SAT is scored on a 400 to 1600 scale. The ACT and Enhanced ACT use a 1 to 36 composite score. Average scores typically fall around 1060 for the SAT, around a 21 for the ACT. Finally, your question types also vary slightly. The SAT includes multiple choice questions with 4 answer options, plus student-produced responses. This is open-ended questions in the math section. The ACT features multiple choice questions with 4 or 5 options, depending on the section. And the Enhanced ACT will use multiple choice with 4 options for all questions in order to streamline that experience. Understanding these differences can also help you and your child choose the test that aligns with their strengths. It aligns with their test-taking styles and their college goals. Now, when looking at the difference here between the Legacy ACT, which is the current test, and the Enhanced ACT, we've reviewed the general differences here. And with the increasing competitive landscape of college admissions, it's more important than ever that students make strategic and informed exam decisions. And that starts with understanding the transition from the Legacy ACT to the Enhanced ACT. The current or Legacy ACT format will be offered on paper through the July national test date. After that, starting in September, all national test dates, whether on paper or on the computer, will shift to the Enhanced ACT format. While the core content remains consistent, the Enhanced ACT offers a shorter test with fewer questions and more flexibility through optional sections. For students applying to selective colleges and competitive majors, submitting a strong ACT score, even at test optional schools, can help an application stand out and reinforce academic readiness. It's also worth considering the optional ACT sections, as they can strengthen your child's application, depending on their intended major. The writing section is valuable for students interested in humanities, education, or communication-focused programs. These programs where a written analysis and an argumentation are key skills. The science section is ideal for those planning for STEM majors or for STEM fields such as pre-med, biology, or engineering, and demonstrates readiness for rigorous scientific coursework. As admissions offices increasingly rely on multiple data points and evaluate they evaluate the applicants, their test scores, especially when strategically selected and submitted, this can really be the deciding factor. The key is to match your child's testing plan to their academic strengths and their future goals. Now, when it comes to college admissions testing, timing also matters, and understanding the upcoming test dates can help you and your child plan strategically. Let's start first with the SAT. A notable update this year is the addition of a new September test date, offering students another opportunity to test early in the fall. This can be especially valuable for seniors looking to finalize scores for early application deadlines, or for juniors wanting to get a head start. As for the ACT, like we already mentioned, students should be aware of the Enhanced ACT. This will roll out to both digital and paper formats starting in September 25. And this is for the Saturday test takers. That means students taking the paper test before September will take the Legacy ACT, while those testing after will experience the new format. For families with students in the class of 2026 or 2027, this is especially important. You'll want to consider your child's comfort level with the current versus the enhanced formats and plan accordingly. And if your child is planning to take either the SAT or the ACT this September, now is the time to start planning. Now is the time to start preparing. Summer provides a critical window to build skills, gain confidence, and avoid the stress of cramming during the school year. So as you review upcoming test dates, think about your child's academic readiness. Think about their application timelines for the colleges that they're considering, and whether or not they may benefit from additional prep time before taking the new version of the ACT. Choosing the right test date isn't just about availability. It's about setting your child up for success. It's also important that students make informed and strategic decisions regarding school selection and planning. It's essential to build a balanced school list. So encourage your child to make a list of their reach schools, their match schools, and their safety schools. This is not only to increase their chances of admission, but also to give them options to compare later on. When your child is building their school list, make sure to research majors or programs early, especially if your child is considering a competitive major like nursing, business, or engineering, where requirements will be more rigorous. And if possible, visit campuses. It's one of the best ways to assess whether a school is a good academic and cultural fit. Finally, plan with a clear timeline. Every school has different admissions requirements, so understanding what's expected for each program is key. We recommend creating a college planning calendar that includes test prep timelines and official test dates, application deadlines for each school, and important dates for financial aid and scholarship applications. These steps not only reduce last-minute stress, but also ensure your child is submitting the strongest application possible. Now, I'd like to invite our two speakers to really share what they're seeing in the actual field. So Kara, Lori, thank you so much for being here today. We do have the two of you here on this fantastic panel. We're excited to dive into some conversation. So let's start with something that's been on the top of mind for many families. We've seen a lot of shifts recently, with some colleges going back to requiring test scores, while others remain test optional. Kara, I'll throw this question out to you first. What are you hearing from families in response to these changes? Are they feeling confused, relieved, something else?
Yeah, I think that it's there is some confusion while colleges are still publishing that they are test optional. They actually, underneath the surface, they're more test expected. So when you go and dive into some of the common data sets or the information that colleges are releasing about their incoming freshman class for fall of 2025, the number of students are admitting is actually north of 60% that have submitted test scores. So I think that really does cause confusion for our families that are trying to, when they set up a timeline, they're trying to, set their child up for success with the types of schools they're applying to. And as a mom who just went through this process myself, we went in and at schools, it was test expected for us for every school my daughter applied to. That's how we looked at it. She applied with a competitive major. She applied to schools that were optional and also test expected. But I think what we've seen too in the last few months is, as you mentioned before, schools can change their guidelines or the requirements at any time. So not being fully prepared can really, limit your students' choices as it comes down to the summer before senior year.
Absolutely, thank you. Lori, how about you? What are you seeing out there in the field with your families in center?
Thank you so much. So I have children that have already been through the academic process, but as I've been with Huntington for many, many years, it is definitely a different time. Back when my children were applying, it was very straightforward. Schools were looking at the test scores. Now, a parent or a student will look at the website and it says we're test optional. But then when they go visit the college and the printout, when they're going and seeing what's required to go to their school, they're seeing test scores. So it is very confusing. So I really encourage and basically support students to put their best foot forward by being overly prepared. They need to have all the boxes checked, because if they go in without one of those boxes checked, it's very, very difficult to know how they're going to be accepted to that school, if they're going to be accepted to that school or accepted to that program. Or I'm even finding some students that are pre-engineering or pre-nursing. So they could be wasting a whole year of college and money and not even being guaranteed in that program. So it's important to, like Kara was saying, lift the layers up. See, on the surface, it may say test optional, but when you turn to the second page, there may be a lot of criteria attached to that test optional score. And the other thing is, I have many students that are coming into me and saying, I need that score to be eligible for this scholarship. So you really need to do your homework and communicate with your son or daughter to their options, to the schools that they're interested in, and really investigate, and dig in deeper to what the criteria is. And like I was, when I was talking to Kara, her children are going through it. Mine have already gone through this. It is much more difficult, but you can get there. And by getting there, you just get prepared and be overly prepared. So the colleges that you are choosing, you're going to be able to get into.
I think something else I'm also hearing from parents as of late is that they are anticipating that more colleges will change from this test optional language to test required. And they don't want to be, in a sprint at the end of the junior year going to senior year, trying to make up time and get ready with the changing requirement at the last minute. It's something that, having a daughter that went through it, we planned out everything very strategically and in an organized timeline, so she didn't feel the pressure that's already there for our kids, right? But that we could really, we wanted to be in the driver's seat, and you want to control what you can control. So having a test score, even under perhaps a test optional policy, you are still in the driver's seat. If you submit a very good test score at the 50% or above, that is going to put you ahead of other applicants at that school.
That's really, really helpful context, Kara. And I'm going to keep you here because, with so many changes happening across schools, I think that we've heard today just the consistency of take the test, submit the test. With the changes of this test, especially with the ACT, with the enhanced ACT new format, the science section is now optional and the writing section continues to be optional as well. In your experience, Karen, I'll start with you here as well. Should students opt out of taking those sections? And in what situation would it make sense for them to take it? And are there situations where it might be where it might make sense for them to skip it?
I would say currently, since the enhanced ACT, we're changing over to this new format, and we haven't had a chance to hear from the majority of colleges as to what they will require for section-based submission. We are preparing with it at my 3 centers. All of our juniors, all of our rising seniors and rising juniors are taking the science section. Again, I think it's part of controlling what you can control, that we don't want to find out that they were taking just the English, math, and reading section, and they decide to add a college to their list, or perhaps change their major or intended major, that they then need that 4th section, and they're trying to fit it in September of their senior year. So my advice is, until you know for certain, to be prepared. We are having all of our students sit for all 4 sections until you get definitive clarity from the schools you're applying to.
Thank you. And Lori, how about you? What are you seeing in center in regards to your families with this enhanced ACT?
So when we have communicated to many of our local colleges, they have not decided on if they need the science section or they don't need the science section. So we are advising students to take the ACT with the science section, because just like Kara said, the last thing you want to happen to you is the college that you're applying to all of a sudden says, we need the science section, and you didn't take it. You have to go back in and take that science section, or vice versa. You maybe took the science section, which really helped your score, and that's just going to enhance you and put you ahead of other students that didn't take it. So once again, you must be overly prepared, and you always have to put your best foot forward when you're applying to these colleges, because it is uncertainty that's hitting our students. It's just, I say to students, when you're applying to a college and you go into the Common App and you click that college and it says, oh, optional. They have your Common App essay, but then they say, oh, we have these other optional essays to do. Well, there is no option. You need to put your best foot forward and complete those essays. So why wouldn't you do that also with an SAT or ACT? You want to give it your all.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. It's about controlling what you can. Take the full test, prepare for all sections, and submit those scores. Because when it comes to things like strategy, I know that the two of you are really talking about the strategy of getting those test scores, making sure to submit those scores. But when it comes to standing out with the application, Lori, what advice do you give to students to help their applications stand out, especially that we know we're in such a competitive environment? What really makes the difference?
Well, you want to sit back and you want to look at what you're bringing to the table, in a sense, with the types of classes that you've taken in high school, your AP results, your SAT or ACT results, your letters of recommendation, your activities, your leadership activities, or any type of awards that you've won, whether it's Boy Scouts, Girl Scouts, Eagle Scouts, or even just competitions down, math competitions. You want to gather all that information, and you want to really come up with an organized, plan, but an organized resume of yourself, because again, you're applying one time to be a freshman at that college. So you want to make sure every T is every I is dotted, every T is crossed, to make sure that you are putting forth the best that you can. I know with my children, when they were going through this process, I would have weekly meetings with them. Their schedule's busy, my schedule's busy, but we would have once a week, weekly meetings to really dive into this, to make sure that we're organized. So why did we do that? So the stress level would go down in the household and we were prepared. This is not something you can do overnight. This is not something that just happens at the end of the junior year. These meetings and this discussion should be starting with the students throughout their high school year, because you can't try to run and try to do all this stuff between your junior and senior year. All along, from the day that they graduate 8th grade to all the way through when they click and they send that final application in. It's a process that you have to be organized with. And you have to really look at yourself. Students, if they're listening, or parents, help your child look at this to see, are they balanced? And if they're not, you need to work together to get them balanced, so that, again, they're putting forth the best resume to get into college.
Wow, Lori, those are definitely some fantastic tips. Thank you. Now, to wrap up this slide, but our experts are not going away anytime soon. I do just want to do a little bit of reflection. So looking back, after the dust settles, the decisions are in, and students have decided upon where they're going to go. They've decided upon where at least they're applying to. Kara, what do students often say that they wish they had done differently during the admissions process? What do you hear most often in those reflections from students? Or,
Yeah, sure.
or your own daughter too, even in that case?
Well, Lori spoke about before having, set meetings, weekly check-ins. My daughter was fortunate to work with a outside college advisor who really kept her on task, kept her in line with what she needed to do when. That so much so that on August 30th, my daughter came downstairs to us and said, I'm done. And I really wasn't quite sure what she was talking about. She said, I'm done with my application. I'm done with my essays. That's a really good feeling walking into, 3 days later, she walked into the first day of her senior year. So, to, piggyback off what, my daughter's experience, that, that timeline, being prepared, not leaving anything to the last minute. A lot of my students, when they reflect on it, some students get the process started a little bit later, that they feel this pressure in addition to the regular pressure, the time is not on their side. And in retrospect, they wish they did it sooner. No one ever wishes they started it later. And I think something else, coming from past students that I've spoken to, they also know that they need to, the more ownership they take of the process with the support of their counselors, their family, tutors, the better that they feel about it, right? This is a very uncertain time. There's a lot of chatter in the background. This is a big decision for our 17 and 18-year-olds to be making, but the more supported they feel in all the areas, the better it's going to go for everyone as well. I mean, I have to be honest, it was a really fun process for us. We really took a very realistic approach. We said we're going to apply, like your previous slide said, to a reach school, target schools, and a few safety schools. And we're just after, we knew she did everything that she could. No regrets, right? Everything that she could do to make her application stand out. We then sat back and said, okay, for about 2 months straight, every Friday brought about a decision, right? So we kind of knew Friday at 4, everyone was going to be home for that. But it was really a great process. And I think being so organized, prepared, and ahead of the game really put us in that position. And really her, this was her journey. We were just really lucky to be along on the ride with her.
Absolutely, and those definitely are great takeaways. Thank you both for sharing your insights, your experiences. We're going to keep you here. We're just going to move on because I do want to continue our discussion, but transition here into what parents need to know. So when it comes to submitting strong ACT and SAT scores, these can give students a real edge in the college admissions process. Test scores do more than just check a box. They help to showcase students' potential and college readiness, especially when paired sometimes with a lower GPA or a unique type of an application. They can elevate the overall application. They can help students stand out in a competitive landscape, and in many cases, even eliminate the need for remedial or entry-level college courses. Kara, in your experience, how have you seen students benefit from submitting scores?
Sure. So there is a record number of applicants every year. And as you spoke about how they're using AI to weed through, right? So during the initial process, they're taking GPAs and test scores on these tens of thousands of applications coming in the door. So the test score is another data set for the first set of eyes to see. And I oftentimes have kids that might have a little bit of a lower GPA. I had a student out of one of my centers, he's a current senior, and he found me at a school event this year. And he said, Mrs. Murray, I've been meaning to call you. His GPA was teetering at about a 3.0, but he got a 32 on his ACT with us. And he said, the fact that I got a 32 is without a doubt the reason I got into 7 of the colleges I applied to. Because what that did is it showed these colleges what he's capable of, how he's going to do when he gets into that college, you know, into those college classes there. So an ACT score for a student who's a little bit lower on the GPA really helps to show more of an academic profile. A student that has a 3.8 or a 3.9, a strong SAT or ACT score complements that, shows the school, shows the college that that is actually an actual GPA. It's not inflated. So it really solidifies what they're seeing walking in the door, and it gives the student a leg up when, again, they're seeing tens of thousands of applications in these first rounds.
Amazing. When we look at the ACT and SAT scores as well, scores are not just used for college admissions, but they also play a key role on other important decisions. So colleges often use them to screen students for merit-based scholarships, which can significantly reduce the cost of attendance. They're also considered for direct admission into competitive programs like business or engineering, where space is sometimes limited and standards are high. Lori, in your experience, how have you seen students benefit from submitting their scores?
It's a great point where you're talking about direct admission to the competitive programs. You know, there's some programs out there in medical that's a 3-4 program where you're going to get your undergraduate in 3 years and then go off to medical school. That can save you a year of schooling by submitting your test score. First of all, with those competitive programs, you need a test score, but it'll save you a year of schooling because you know you're going to have to go on to further studying for medical school. There's a lot of pre-law, where now they're going into a 3-3 program. Your physical therapy, your occupational therapy, nursing programs, they have a minimum score that you have to get into those programs. And then when you're talking about scholarships, you know, the school that you're going to, they of course have their merit scholarships, and they base them on SAT or ACT scores and your GPA. But then there's the other scholarships that are out there that you're applying to that can also bring a lot more funds to help lower your cost. Those at times require SAT or ACT. Governor schools, which give you an edge at the end of your junior year to be able to put that in your college application your senior year, are asking for SAT or ACT schools. They're not requiring them, but governor schools are very competitive, and it looks so good on your college application that you got into governor school. And again, it's almost like a mini application for college, and you want to make sure the more data you have on there to show your strengths, you want to make sure that you shine with those.
Bottom line, strong scores open doors, and strong scores can unlock even more opportunities beyond just getting into school. So thank you both for being here. For the rest of you as well, please continue to put your questions in the chat. Let's discuss now how Huntington can help your child with test prep. First, it's important for you to understand, parents, that not all ACT and SAT prep is the same. We feel that there are 5 must-haves for an effective test prep program. First, students need a plan. That study plan should be built around students' baseline that comes from their initial practice test, their strengths and areas with the biggest opportunity for improvement. Frequent practice tests are the second essential for test prep. Third, best test prep focuses on vital test strategies, such as time management, analyzing different question types, and strategic guessing, since there are no penalties for wrong answers on either the ACT or the SAT. Fourth, you need a consistent study schedule with regular study sessions, and you need proven results. Huntington's program incorporates all of those test prep essentials, helping students improve their test scores and opening doors to their top college choices. Here's how. We start first by doing a comprehensive evaluation, a full practice test. We use the results that pinpoint the student's strengths and weaknesses, so we can design a program that's tailored to the student's ability and goals. We then develop a personalized exam prep plan based on the results of the practice test. The students then are set up with a certified tutor to begin prep. We offer flexible scheduling for all programs, which are available in a one-on-one format, either online, in-center, or via a hybrid approach that involves both a mix of the in-person and online. And how about results? We've got those too. Students who have completed the Huntington's SAT and ACT prep programs see an average increase of 229 points on the SAT and 5.4 points on the ACT. We are proud of our proven results and offer advantages like flexible scheduling, certified, experienced teachers, and a variety of prep choices. Huntington has the experience and proven results in prepping students for any test. So call us today to set up an evaluation and get your program started as soon as possible. And we hear from families who have seen incredible results through Huntington's test prep programs. One parent, Debbie M., shared that her son's ACT scores jumped from a 27 to a 35, and that they'll be coming back with their younger son later. C. Cruz told us her daughter's SAT scores increased by over 300 points in under a year, thanks to the passionate tutors and a dedicated director. And Bill B. said that his son's ACT improvement led directly to a large academic scholarships. These are the kinds of life-changing outcomes we're proud to support at Huntington Learning Center. And let's quickly go over what else we can do for your students or any of your students' younger siblings as well. Getting into college requires consistent effort, and for many years, we've helped children become the best students possible and achieve their goals even from an early age. Our foundational programs include our Learning Center and exam prep offerings, available both in-center and online to meet families where they are. Our Learning Center program focuses on building core academic skills through a customized one-on-one approach. We support students from kindergarten through 12th grade in areas such as phonics, reading, writing, spelling, math, science, study skills, subject-specific tutoring, and even we offer a personalized, specialized program for students with ADHD. Our test prep program is designed to help students succeed on high-stakes test exams like the SAT, the ACT, PSAT, as well as state assessments. We also work with advanced placement exams and high school entrance exams. So whether families prefer structure of our in-center environment or the flexibility of online sessions, we provide consistent, high-quality instruction to help students reach their goals. At Huntington, we first start with a full academic assessment through our academic evaluation. This evaluation helps our teachers identify the child's academic strengths and pinpoints the exact gaps where they're experiencing. With this information, we create a personalized program tailored to the child's needs. This academic evaluation allows parents to stop guessing and get to the answers needed to take action and help their child achieve their full academic potential. Also, the nation's 4th and 8th graders once again posted underwhelming performance on the National Assessment of Educational Progress, with the 2024 results showing little to no progress towards regaining pre-pandemic levels in both math and reading. Understanding your child's academic standing is the first essential tip to ensuring that they stay on track for success. When we think about our key takeaways, I need you to keep this in mind, parents. Now is the time to prepare. especially if you're looking to have your children take one of these September test dates. Leave no stone unturned, and you will have no regrets. Research, schedule, and plan. The last takeaway here, prepare, prepare, prepare. Strong scores, open doors.
Excellent. Now we're kind of right up at the top of the hour, but I do want to get I wanted to get one question in across the panel of all of our speakers, and then maybe ask for each of the speakers to provide a couple of key additional takeaways as we close things out. And then for those of you who asked questions and we didn't get to them, we are going to follow up with everybody individually. There's some really excellent questions, and I apologize, we're under a little bit of a time crunch. But this question, my student is finishing her junior year. What could be done over the summer to improve her chances of getting into the colleges she wants? And I'd like to open that up to either Kara or Lori to kick things off and just kind of go around the horn, and then we'll do a couple of key takeaways from you both.
So my students that are finishing their junior year, going into their senior year, what could they do over the summer? Well, they really need to continue to investigate the colleges, but also look to see, do they have the skills to stay in college? You know, the one thing that Huntington does is executive functioning skills and study strategies for the different types of professors, different types of teachers that they're going to run across. So really take a step back and say, okay, I'm spending all this time and energy and I'm, getting everything ready, but do I have those skills? The other thing, a lot of my students are worried about their college essay. Huntington, this is what I do. In the summertime, I'm looking over so many essays, and we are helping students write the strongest essay possible for these colleges. So the summertime is a time to really self-reflect, make sure you get all your ducks in a row, make sure the essay's strong, and look at yourself. Are you ready? And if you're not, make sure you get ready.
Excellent. Kara, do you have additional thoughts? Go ahead.
I echo the same things that Lori, just mentioned, as well as what she's been saying throughout the presentation as well. Being prepared and having, set target dates of deliverables is going to make it a less stressful summer for everyone involved. And, the essay writing, the essays that are due creep up quickly with the supplementals for many of these more selective colleges. I actually have an ACT student returning in a week. They're going to be transferring, so they need some help on their essays for transfers as well. So, we're here to provide that continued support as students do even matriculate into college.
Excellent. And just before we close things up, I know that Marielle covered a few key takeaways, but I would definitely love to hear your key takeaways. It's obviously can be a stressful time, but for people at all sort of stages of the college admissions process, where we've got a lot of juniors, but for those in sophomore, freshman year as well, what are some key takeaways for the parents attending today's webinar?
I mean, I would end it with my big takeaway is there's no second chances as you apply to college. So you get one chance. There is a transfer option, but one chance going into the senior year. And again, you don't want to have any regrets, as has been mentioned throughout this call as well. So you want to do these students have worked tirelessly over the past 12 years of schooling. And they want to have choices in front of them. They don't want the choice to be made for them. So do everything you can. Know that when you submit that last application, you've done everything in your power. And I really do mean it. And try to enjoy the process because it goes quickly. And there is a lot of, I think students learn a lot about themselves during this process as well. And I think it's a time for families to spend a lot of time together. But again, no second chances. So don't leave anything on the table that you regret.
Lori, any closing thoughts or key takeaways from your end?
Yes, and again, we talked about planning. Planning is key, but organize yourself as a family. And like I said, really spend that time, just like how Kara said, it was stressful. I get it, but I actually really enjoyed that time talking with my children and really finding out what their passion was and really talking with them as young adults. It's a great process. Don't get stressed about it. Enjoy it, organize it, schedule that time with them. And the number one thing is don't be afraid to reach out for help. There's so many resources out there. You have your guidance counselor, you have teachers, you have college counselors, you have Huntington Learning Center. Reach out and get that help so that way you are truly prepared, enjoy the process. And like Kara said, there's no second chances in this whole process. Yes, you can transfer, but there's no second chances when you're going through this initial process. So don't stress about it, just prepare for it.
Yeah, keep a positive attitude. I like it. Well, Kara, Lori, Marielle, thank you all so much. It covered a lot of ground, and I know there are a lot of other questions we'll be sharing with each of you for follow-up. So we appreciate everybody getting their questions in, and apologize that we've just run out of time. But we are going to make sure that this recording is available to everybody following the event. And of course, if you do have questions, you can reach out to us at huntingtonhelps.com, or you can call us at 1-800-CAN-LEARN, and one of our academic specialists will get you to the right center based upon your location to get your questions answered and make sure that you're start the process off in the right way. On behalf of Kara, Lori, and Marielle, I want to say thank you so much for joining us today. This concludes today's webinar. We look forward to seeing it at the next event. Take care.